Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing? I think that you are feeling comfortable and you are good. Right now, we are going to discuss about the novel Depart by John Steinbeck, but we are going to focus about the key information or the key element of the novel Depart by John Steinbeck. Do you know them? If you don't know them, my friend, subscribe and follow them. Sit and listen to what we are going to tell you about the key element or the key information of the novel Depart by John Steinbeck. Let's start. My friend, the full title of the novel that you are going to discuss about is Depart. The author is John Steinbeck. The type of work is a novel, is not novella. I think that you know the difference between novel and novella. Novel is bigger than novella. The genre of this novella is a parable or allegory. We know that allegory, it is a figurative language which helps us to figure out a hidden meaning, especially in politics. The language, this novella Depart by John Steinbeck, it is written in English, of course. The time and place written, this novella was written in 1944 to 1945 in California. The date of first publication, the first day of publication of the novel Depart by John Steinbeck took place in 1945 in serial form, where this novel was entitled as Depart of the World. But in 1947, it was now in full form book. The publisher of the novel Depart by John Steinbeck is Viking Press. The house which published this book is called Viking Press. Another element which is very important, it is narrator. Who narrates this story? The narrator, as you know, is someone who tells a story, or it is storyteller. As far as narrator is concerned, the anonymous narrator writes as if telling us an old story he or she knows very well. The narrator frequently alludes to the story's ending and freely describes the inner thoughts and feelings of various characters. My friend here, they are telling us that someone who tells, who writes this novel Depart by John Steinbeck, this story, it seems that he knows it very well. In writing this story, he tells us the end of the story and freely describes the inner thoughts and feelings of various characters. Rather than tell the story in his own voice, John Steinbeck chooses to narrate in a stylized voice recording that of a storyteller from the society, like keynotes in which the story are handed down from generation to generation, eventually losing their specificities and becoming moral parable, as Steinbeck insinuates in the opening epigrams by venture sheer repetition. In order John Steinbeck to tell us this story in his own voice, the writer of this book, John Steinbeck, uses various characters from Kino's family or society, where we will see that he uses Kino, Joanna, Coyotito, and the other characters in order to help him to tell us or to give us this important book from the beginning up to the end. Another element of this novel, The Pub by John Steinbeck, is point of view. We know that point of view is the angle in which the author uses to tell a story. The writer of this novel, John Steinbeck, uses third-person omniscient narration, meaning that she not only tells us what various character thinks and feels or feel, but also provide analysis and commentary on the story. In the point of view, we know that the narrator or the writer uses third-person omniscient narrator, meaning that he used he or she and is outside observer. In this narration, the writer provides us the various characters by showing us how characters think and how characters feel. And also the narrator or the writer of this novel, The Pub by John Steinbeck, try to give us the analysis and the comments or commentary on this story. The narrator here shifts perspective frequently, focusing most often on Kino, but occasionally focusing on the other characters, such as Joanna and the doctor. John Steinbeck, in order to tell us this story from the beginning up to the end, he uses various characters, especially for Kino's family or Kino's society. He uses Kino, Joanna, and doctor and the other characters in order to give us a tangible story which took place in La Paz during colonization. Another element which is very important is tone. Tone is the speaker's voice. The narrator tells us or tells Kino's story to teach a moral lesson. The purpose of the writer of this novel is to teach us a moral lesson, what we can learn from Kino. And so treat Kino above all as a cautionary figure, and treat Kino as important figure which is going to help him to reveal what happened in La Paz. At the same time, however, the narrator seems to see Kino as a sort of tragic hero and is moved by the human weakness Kino actually reveals. And the writer here, or the narrator, uses Kino as a tragic hero. We know that a tragic hero, it is the main character who faces various struggles, various problems, who carries the burden of the story. But in this element also, the writer John Steinbeck tries himself to show us the weakness that Kino reveals in the whole novel. The narrator often shows a certain respect for Kino's striving to realize his ambition. And also the writer John Steinbeck tried to show us the respect to Kino by showing us how Kino has ambition after finding his magnificent power of the world. Even while recognizing the mistake of Kino, and he tries also to show us the mistake Kino committed throughout the story, makes and mourning his ultimate moral far, which makes Kino down far in the story. Another element is tense. This story, written in simple past or in the past tense. The setting of this novel by John Steinbeck, according to the time, it is unclear. Probably it is written later 19th and earlier 20th century. I think that you are together, my friend. This is very important because it's going to help you to understand clearly the story of the novel by John Steinbeck. The setting we refer to place. The setting of this novel by John Steinbeck takes place at Mexico coastal village called La Paz, probably on Baja Peninsula. The main character or protagonist of this novel by John Steinbeck is Kino. The major conflict. What do you think about the major conflict of this novel by John Steinbeck? The major conflict, it is like the root causes of the story. After Kino finding magnificent power of the world, of course, Kino seeks to sell it and to acquire wealth. After Kino find out the power, of course, she looks for to sell it in order to acquire wealth. She wishes his son's wound to heal. In selling the pearl, he has a target to take his son to the doctor in order to be healed. And his sons to obtain an education to become an equal to European colonist who keeps his people in the state of ignorance and poverty. After Kino selling his pearl and make his son to be healed, he has another important target to take his son to obtain an education in order to make his son to be intelligent and an expert like European colonists who keeps his people in poverty and ignorance. When Kino tries to sell the pearl, whoever Kino meets or quickly meets resistance in the form of other people. Even if Kino has found this magnificent power of the world and he wants to sell it in order to become rich, people outside want this power too. And from that time, Kino starts meeting with the people who want to take the power from Kino. Ultimately, his struggle to acquire wealth places him at odds with his family, his culture, and nature, as Kino himself succumbs to greed and violence. After above all that you have said about the major conflict or the problem that Kino encountered after finding this magnificent power of the world, when he wants to sell it and acquire wealth and make his son to be healed and make his son to be educated people and make his son to be equally to the European colonists who keep Kino's people in the state of ignorance, Kino becomes someone who destroyed his culture, family, and even the nature. Because the Kino, he finds himself greedy and a violent man. Another element which is also important is rising action. The rising action of this story, written by John Steinbeck from the Navarra de Pa, a scorpion stings Coyotito. Kino discover a great power. The rising action, it is the start of the story. The story starts when the scorpion stings Coyotito. And then after, Chino finds magnificent power of the world. After that, Chino wants to sell his power in order to become rich. But he failed. Chino, after finding the power, she was attacked by various intruders and the trackers. And after all of that, Chino even beats Joanna for attempting to discard the pearl. Another element is climax. The climax is the higher intensity of the story, or it is the highest moment of the story. The climax takes place in this story when Chino kills a man who attacks him in order to take the power from him. The firing action. The firing action, it is also another element which you can find in this Navra de Power by John Steinbeck. The rising action takes place when Chino and his family flee the village after finding himself chased by the trackers. And then after, Chino fights with the trackers. And one of the trackers shot his son Coyotito and dead. And then after, Chino and his family returned back to the village. And finally, through the power of the word, back into the sea. The theme of this story, we will discuss about the greedy as destructive force. The second theme is the role of faith as agent in shaping human life. The next theme is colonial society oppression of native culture. Motif in this novel is the nature imagery and Chino's song. The symbols. In this story, there are also symbols. The symbol one is the pearl, the second symbol is scorpion, and the third symbol is Chino's canoe. Foreshadowing. Another element which is also important in this story is foreshadowing. Coyotito's name for us as a readers describe us how Chino is going to find out the power and how that the power of the word will be. And Joanna's prayer after Chino dive into the sea to find out a great pea, it is the sign which shows us that Chino is going to find a great pearl. Shuan and Thomas warning to Chino indicated that the pearl is dangerous. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching or for attending this session. You know that this element is very important because it's gonna help you to sort out the story from the Navra de Power by John Steinbeck. Thank you so much. We shall meet again when God wishes. Subscribe if you are new to this channel. Let's call it a day here. Ciao, ciao.